Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron IV with D-Day's common units of World War II mod primarily. We also have the No Man's Land mod as well. I like that a lot. I think it makes things a lot more correct. Okay, well we were talking about the Monroe Doctrine last episode and we have that completed. Now, we have all of these opened up here. That's going to reduce cost. Yeah, I want to be one of these. We're going to go with South America, so get 150 political power points. Oh, Spanish War, Civil War broke out. Okay, who are we going to put in charge of our army? Now, I think it was 1935 is when he left. MacArthur was the commanding general of the U.S. Army for a while. And as I've said before, I'm not good with dates, but I think it was 1935 is when he left that post. There was some controversy while he was there, partially with using military troops to break up some of the out-of-work, basically homeless veterans from World War I that marched on to the Capitol and set up sort of shanty towns. So bit of a controversy. Now it was ordered by the president. He didn't just decide to do it, but he was the general sort of locally commanding that, if I'm getting all that correct. It's been a while since I looked at that. And right around this time is when he took over command of the Philippines Army. And I think he greatly enjoyed that. Got to have all that extra stuff. All that extra gold braid on his hat, that's not U.S. No U.S. general wears any of that. That's all for being, what, I don't know, field marshal or whatever it is, of the Philippines. All that extra gold braid. Now, whether he created that or not, I don't know, but that is a uniform element from being in charge of the Philippines Army, not U.S. Army thing. So I don't know whether he should be our field marshal now, or his boy, I forget right now whether it was during some of the time during when he was in the Philippines, or his adjutant, or when it was, and I think it may have been when he was in charge of the U.S. Army, his adjutant, Dwight Eisenhower. They knew each other very well. I mean, very well. MacArthur didn't think much of Eisenhower. I don't know. Maybe Eisenhower seemed a little too, I don't know, clerkish. Didn't have the flamboyance that MacArthur had. So, just looking at some of these variants on the uniforms here. Well, let's give it to MacArthur. Put him in charge of the U.S. Army here. Nobody not in? Okay. East of the continental U.S. And the Berlin Olympic Games. How nice. Jesse Owens is over there doing his thing. I really look forward to doing a mod on like Third Reich events for the U.S. There's so much I want to deal with. It's dealing with some of the issues like we were talking about with MacArthur, some of the command issues at this time period, including Stilwell. General Stilwell, is he even on our list here? I just want to see, is he even here? He was considered by most of the active commanders to be one of the best U.S. generals. Yeah, there he is, Vinegar Joe Stilwell. Now that's a shame that he's only a 1. Don't know that MacArthur would say so, but probably Eisenhower and maybe Patton, a few of the others that knew him. I mean, he's way better than Mark Clark ever was as a general. Don't know that Clark really knew him very well. Trying to think of what I know of the sort of the old boy network there. But Stilwell was one of the best American commanders of the war. Now, of course, he sort of his career path at this time was that he was sent over to China as a military attaché for the U.S. Embassy in China, and he spoke, I don't know if fluent's the right term, but he spoke Chinese because of that. And so when things started to really heat up here, he was sent back as an advisor. But boy, he and Chiang Kai-shek did not get along. But the U.S. trusted him, as opposed did not trust what they were hearing from Chiang Kai-shek. So they trusted him. So he got sent over there and then ended up in the Burma campaign. So he was sort of lost in the great sweeps of the American action in World War II. But he was one of the best generals, or at least thought so, and his although limited to the small front and very small front in the American level of participation in Burma campaign, but he was very highly thought of. Okay, we're going to do Bureau of Ships. That will help us out, and which gives us more political units. Now we are very limited, unlike even Germany. Well, Germany is the most played nation, so I understand why they have the most minister choices. Excuse me. So we really don't have anybody else that, at this point, we're not building arms factories. I'm just building civil factories. So Stimson would be a good choice there once we get to that. But what we're mainly doing here now is research and things. So notice a few of these generals are, they want us to have come sort of later. Sort of focus on some of the, so I don't know why, well, I guess we don't, no one's Oppenheimer this early. Motorization research time. We've got a lot of aircraft that we want to research. We're already doing the P-40, which would help if we had that. But we are, you know, fairly well behind there, so we're going to be doing that soon. So yeah, I think we maybe even should have waited. I think we're going to go with an aircraft designer, but well, not theirs, but I'm thinking here. Research time, electronical, industrial research. Yeah, we're going to do industrial research. So my strong suggestion is to use the Monroe Doctrine, but national focuses to develop your various cabinet posts better. And let's start with... let's put the heavy cruiser. Oh, I just want this to be one. Okay, construction industry. One. Okay, so we've got that. We're still in 36. We can do this now. Is it time? Okay, now this we get a choice on. Sort of like the idea that the election can go either way as opposed to has to go one way or another, but I don't know if I'm terribly so fond of this. But we can get gain New Deal spirit, or get the Republican Party in charge, which would give us political power points, a bunch of them, which would be nice. And Stone's constitutionalist, yeah, those are nice, but we're going to go with the historical Democrats. And we of course have the P-40 Warhawk and mechanical. Now we can do that, or no, we're gonna not do that because that, the way it's done, we're gonna use it here in time. I think that's more important. Well, let's improve our artillery. No, we don't have the... yeah, that's also... this may not be the best choices. And it's really helpful to try to use your national focuses and their benefits to things while you work your way through the tech trees. I'm sure somebody could write out a do this and then do this and then do that kind of thing to keep it going, flowing for the best benefit, to get things done the quickest. Okay, excavation tech. Well, we could do an air doctrine. Strategic destruction, battlefield support, which is Germany's path, operational integrity. We're going to go with the strategic doctrine, which is sort of the American doctrine that to some degree or another was sort of what Billy Mitchell was all about. Use of air power to dominate things. Bit optimistic at the time, but and still when you try to only use it like in Yugoslavia or the former Yugoslavia, it cannot be that effective. Okay, well, we've got this, which will help out with some things here, but this also gives us some research bonuses there. Well, Italy needs to get off this stick and get in here. Okay, well, we got radios. Good. Now this is where we're going to also use this. When I played my other campaign, just sort of, I did it before testing out. Italy lost down in here, so I don't know if that's... Presumably that since it's happening sort of twice, that Italy's not doing so well. I mean, I don't think it's going to lose this time because it got Addis Ababa. But that's probably something to do with the D-Day mod. Whether it's the order of battle, particularly for Italy, or whether he's just weakened the Italian units, something I don't know. But that's a thing. Ah, the Nationalists have won. So the Spanish Civil War is over, alright. Radio detection. Okay, well, now we are in 37, so let's come over here and start this. And air war point. That's very good. Up with air doctrines, we're going to have plenty of those to research, even though we started one already. Well, we're going to come back over here, and this time I think we're going to do the Central American one. And interwar artillery, that's good. While we're researching there, so we want to come over here and get the machine tools. And the Italians have won. Well, that's good. Maybe not from the U.S. perspective, but oh well. How are we doing for equipment? Yeah, we're getting there. No, I just wanted to close that. See here, well, okay, so we're still mostly just regular infantry equipment. Okay, well. Now we have the doctrine bonuses there, but I want to make sure we're doing this stuff here. And the Central American focus has been completed. No. Let's fund the Navy. And we now have this, so I think we will that's gonna surface visibility and that's gonna increase range a lot. That's good. I think we're gonna go with that. Oh, the humanity, the Hindenburg disaster. For you non-Americans, most of these units are National Guard divisions. Now, what does that mean? Well, there's sort of, and it does change a bit over time, there are sort of three types of units for the U.S. Army. There are regular U.S. Army units, there's U.S. Army Reserve units, and then there's the National Guard. And the use sort of structures changed over the years. But National Guard are state troops. They are, don't know exactly where all the budget comes from because things are sort of arcane at times. But they are, you sign up, you know you're going in the National Guard, you know you're going to only serve in your state for regular service. You may go through a basic training somewhere else, but you're going to come back and you're going to do your whole service in your state. You're not going to be sent out of your state, so you're not going to all of a sudden be transferred to some other part of the United States unless there is a national emergency. Local emergencies, you often, if you Americans of course know this much more, but you know, natural disaster or some riots, the governor can send in the Guard, and which he can get them up to, you know, basically being full-time permanent. And I do believe that it has to comes out of the state government budget, but they can put that in, and they're sort of state troops serve at the sort of pleasure of the state governor, unless, like I say, there's a national emergency, which of course the Civil War, World War I, World War II, those were national emergencies. So those units basically became regular units. Now, I haven't really looked into the details of how Devildread has organized these up, but they in some ways have greater unit cohesion than particularly reserve units or newly raised regular units, because they've pre-existed the war. I don't know, their manning often maybe was less than fully manned for a theoretical, you know, a battalion may only be half strength or whatever, just because on paper they wanted to keep the structure there, but the budget didn't have the budget to go too big. But they were, you know, sort of served together a long time, and they continued to recruit, I think, as much as they could, even once they were sent overseas to fight, you know, as regular units. You know, you got a Mississippi unit still mostly getting troops from Mississippi, so there was a fair amount of unit cohesion, if my understanding is correct on that. Where with, obviously they're sort of the core regular Army units that have been around forever, but those were few and far between. The U.S. would often resurrect divisional names and symbols and whatever from before, like from the Civil War or something, but had no continuous existence whatsoever. So they were just sort of like, oh, well, let's use the old unit patch and name and slogan from this other division that's sort of, you know, been gotten rid of, to rebuild that esprit de corps, but it really isn't. The old division is just another division named, and you can see here some of these various. Now this is a regular army division. The 1st Infantry Division was the Big Red One, of course, a quite famous one, and the 1st Cavalry. And so you get a few regular units, but most will be the National Guard. Now often they weren't necessarily these divisions so much, because the divisions would be formed from battalions from nearby states, from like Indiana and Michigan, going to Ohio to form one of these divisions and put together. So they were battalions or regiments from the different states that came together, but individual units would be made up as much as possible from the one state. So that's sort of the way it was. So they're not militia in the same sense of a localized factory workers militia or something, but they were sort of, you know, part-time soldiers in that they weren't obviously full-time soldiers. That is most surely true. Well, and especially at this time and often other times, they were vastly under-equipped, which we started out as such, and often outdatedly equipped. But by those time these divisions got to being invading North Africa, they were as equipped up as any other frontline American division. So they sort of make that transition. So sometime I may go on and look at some of the battalion, you know, actual battalion comparison, get to the others, but they should be about the same. Okay. Oh, well, this time Amelia Earhart made it around the world. Now, I was recently watching America Facts versus Fiction or something, and they very much claim that she was a very bad pilot. Well, okay, it's a bit overstated. She was not a good pilot. One of her claims that, you know, that she flew across the Atlantic. Well, the first time she didn't. She rode across the Atlantic while 2 other guys flew. Now, she was, of course, the first woman to get across the Atlantic solo, but that was a bit later. And I think it was 6 or 8 crashes. You crashed her airplanes, you know, like on landing at airports, and they weren't necessarily like in super bad weather or anything. She just wasn't some. She wasn't an Amelia. Not Amelia. Boy. Einhorn. Oh boy, I'm messing that name up. The German flying woman, or somebody else who was really good pilot. She was a decent pilot, or an okay pilot, but she had a lot of crashes. But what she was a very flamboyant personality. So that's sort of why. I mean, there were other women pilots going on at the time, but she had a very, very strong personality, and that so companies kept giving her aircraft and such, or repairing her crash. Now, her crash landings weren't necessarily, you know, they weren't smacking in the side of the mountain or something. I mean, it wasn't that kind of thing. It was just sort of rough landings that totaled the airplane. I saw some pictures on this, some of it rather pent up engines and wings broken and things like that. So just weren't so good. Walk away from kind of crashes, but nothing, but not more than that. Okay, well, let's go with home defense, which is interception, or ground support. We want to be good interceptors. Whether it's home defense or not, I don't know that really matters, but once we get over here, I want to intercept German bombers or Japanese ones. Okay, we're funding the Navy and leadership purges in the Soviet Union. Well, we can expand the USMC, but I don't want to do that just yet. Let's go with the neighbors. Let's try to influence Canada and Mexico. Again, as I said before, if I'm getting some of these facts wrong and you are concerned about it, I'm very happy to have you, because I call this commentary because when I make a mod or something, I look all this stuff up. This is obviously just talking with the only script of what I'm seeing on the screen that you're seeing. So if you want to correct the record, I'm very happy to have you do it down in the comment section, so that as people watch this, if they want to, they can look at the comment section and get the correct information. I'm happy to be educational on that one. Okay, concentrated industry and Marco Polo bridge incident. Those are Chinese troops. That is either Czech made or a copy of the ZB-26, basically the predecessor of the Bren gun. I think ZB-28 or 20 or 30 or something like that is the Bren gun. Bren gun stands for Bruno Enfield. Bren, B-R and E-N from Enfield, the Bruno Arsenal of Czechoslovakia, and the Enfield Arsenal, which basically just rechambered it and did some minor cosmetic little thingies for the Bren gun and made the magazine into a 30 round instead of a 20 round, and made it the banana shaped one because of the rimmed cartridges of the 303. But that's what that gun is. So either a Chinese copy or a I remember years ago seeing one that was cut in two places, but it had been in China rechambered into 7.62 by 39, the AK-47 round, because the communists had taken over and rechambered them. So they had a bunch of those. Okay, what we need to do now. Tech. So we're all caught up year to date or researching there. So July. Some of those. So let's do some of this. Let's go with, yeah, sure. And we've got delay finished, so we're going to leave this for a while here. Also going to do convoy escort. We're going to have lots of convoys needed. Convoys to various islands, convoys to the British and other places. And we've earned ourselves up another improvement. Material designer, aircraft designer. I just like the improved agility and everything. So we may now have more ports available. Okay. We've got our heavy cruiser built. And since, well, we can trade it to get some UK, we'll do that. Hopefully the UK will benefit from the fact that, okay, home defense, reception there. And let's put this down to naval strike tactic. Oh no, we have to do, well, I guess we can do that as well. Yeah. That's where I'm going now. Okay, we got construction, but also want to get increased resource efficiency. And the neighbors. Okay, Japan, build up a mole. And border. Which gives us more here. Artillery research time, I think. Yeah, I think that's what we're looking at here. And oh, we can do war propaganda now. World tension has increased enough. And we want to do that. The world is a scary place. The world is a scary place. And yes, it is true. The world is a scary place. It's very scary now, and it was even, well, I don't know if more scary, but it was very scary back then. And if I haven't scared you well enough about what's going on in the world, then I'm failing. Because it was, or it is freaking scary. Putting those in a while, so, well. Just want to maximize my research tab. We need to do motorized. Yep, we need to do motorized, that's for sure. Okay, convoy escorts happening very fast. Now, escort patrols, or what do you got? That's sort of the key, is to try to do the bonuses. Okay, well, we're going to end the episode here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. I do appreciate that. And of course, like I've been saying, post comments, questions, suggestions. Love hearing from you. I try to acknowledge at least everybody's comments. And of course, if you can, go tell a friend about the channel. Love to have more people watching this. Thanks so much. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.